We'll start with teams who have not been to the Super Bowl of late, teams who have been on the precipice of the Super Bowl of late, but could get over the hump this year. Why they will make it and why they won't make it. So let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. Probably no better place to start in all of football, given that one, they have this insane roster, but two, that they've had this insane roster for like half a decade now. And it hasn't led to anything more than one AFC championship game, zero Super Bowl appearances. So, Kyle, why will this year be different, or why won't this year be different?
Well, I think this year will be different because the offense gets another year with their two superstars, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. No sign of slowing down from big Derrick Henry. And obviously, Lamar Jackson is still in MVP form. I'll say this about the Ravens. They got better defensively and they're more experienced. And there is a tremendous amount of value in a unit playing together and having time on task with one another. Baltimore Ravens have just that. Obviously, fell just millimeters short last year in the front pylon corner of the end zone. This team, year in, year out, is poised and ready to make a playoff run, Super Bowl run. This year feels like it is the year, Mike.
It really does. The more I look at it, now obviously injuries happen. It's a long season, 17 games, whatever. But just looking at this defense, because this was 2 years ago, 2023, they were the one seed. That was the year they got to the AFC Championship game, right? Number one defense in the NFL. Obviously lost Mike McDonald, early season struggles. But week 11 on, they were once again the best defense in the NFL. And bring back pretty much everyone from that. Now, the one loss, Darius Washington at safety, who tore his Achilles. Well, you replaced him with first rounder Malachi Starks, which could even be an upgrade for you. And then you added your other loss, Brandon Stevens at corner, probably the weakest link in the secondary a season ago. You had a Jair Alexander to be that guy this season who, if healthy, when healthy, a massive upgrade. Could be their best cornerback this season. So just going unit for unit on this roster, really no holes to speak of. The one hole, and I'm surprised you haven't brought this up, and this could be the why won't they? It's their guard position. That has to be the weakest spot on their roster. Obviously, they get around it with Derrick Henry in the running game. Doesn't really matter. But I think in pass protection, if they have to fall behind and play some catch up, that could be an issue, especially when it's like it's Ed Oliver you're going through. It's Chris Jones you're going through.
Yeah.
If there's a why won't they, I think is the guard position it, Kyle?
Well, we saw this last year from the guard position, and they had guys who just seemingly looked lost, particularly on the right side of that offensive line. As the season went on, these guys got their feet wet. They got more comfortable. The pace and speed of the game picks up. But one thing you can't replace is experience. And I think what they struggled with last year in pass protection that I saw was the communication and passing off of line stunts and games. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were looking at. Obviously, it's nice to be able to win every one-on-one, every opportunity you have in man pass protection. But a lot of these things that they're getting thrown at them are games. And if you don't have experience next to the guy that you're playing with, you're going to be a fish out of water. They have that experience now with Rosengard there at the tackle position. They look solid. Lost some weight there. Falele lost some weight this offseason. I'm looking forward to seeing how they pass off games this year. That's a huge part of getting home on Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, those two guards, Andrew Voorhees on the left side, Daniel Falele on the right side. But they brought in Joseph Noteboom from Los Angeles. The Rams could potentially take one of those spots over should we see injuries, should we see poor play. Also drafted Emory Jones, the LSU offensive tackle, in the third round. If you watched him, most evaluators said this guy is probably going to be a guard at the next level. So they have some insurance policy there, but it's definitely a weak link. But if that's your weakest link in your roster, it's probably a pretty damn good roster. So this Ravens team, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Why will they do this? Why will they make Super Bowl this year? No holes. That's it. There's no excuse for the Baltimore Ravens this season. The other team, we're going to flip. We're going to do one AFC, one NFC for all of these. And so we're going to do the Detroit Lions here. Why will this year, when they've been on kind of, like I said, NFC Championship game a couple years ago, obviously the disappointing loss as the one seed last year, why will this year be different for Detroit?
Oh, I'll say this. The reason that Detroit should have optimism and confidence, both fans, players, and members of the Detroit Lions football staff, is that Brad Holmes has constructed a real juggernaut. And we've seen this team, albeit decimated by injury, in meaningful football games, go out there and compete, play tough. Look, we all love watching the Detroit Lions. I love watching this offense. with or without Ben Johnson, they're still going to have that identity of, oh, fourth and, third and, we're going for it. You know where the ball's going. Good luck stopping us. They got the right guys on the field at the right positions. Look, it's going to be tough to overcome the coordinator departures, but at the end of the day, there's still Johnnies and Joes out there playing football. Let's just hope that those Johnnies and Joes, guys like Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil, can return to form that we got used to seeing prior to their injury.
Yeah, I think the defensive returns are why you feel the most excited about this team. Whether it's McNeil coming back, Hutch coming back, the fact that they'll be healthy or should be healthy in the secondary, and you have guys who were rookies last year who maybe look like a fish out of water, should be year two, at least not that, at least not making those rookie mistakes consistently. But I picked these two teams specifically for you, Kyle. I want you to know that because this has a brand new interior offensive line, this Detroit Lions team. I think that hasn't been talked about quite enough. That this offensive line that was so dominant a year ago,
Yeah.
well, they lost Frank Ragnow, and now you're getting a complete reshuffle of this offensive line because of it. It looks like you're either going to get Tate Ratledge at center, Graham Glasgow at one of the guard positions, Christian Mahogany at the other guard position, or Glasgow moves back to center. He played there early on in his career. He's, the slightest built guy along this offensive line. And then Tate Ratledge moves back to guard where he played his entire Georgia career. So is this going to be a big issue for a team that was, they're a top five rushing offense last year, really the only top five rushing offense that didn't have the quarterback as a running threat? Do we see them taking a big step back because of this?
Well, I'm going to tip my cap to Frank Ragnow and point out that his archetype of center is different than the one that is so glowingly appreciated now in the National Football League. These undersized centers who can get out in space. Yeah, Ragnow can do that, but where Frank really dominated was at the point of attack in the A gap, handling your biggest, baddest. Whatever comes out from under that bridge, we're going to handle it with Frank Ragnow. I've seen it. I saw it firsthand against prime Akeem Hicks. It was, oh my God, jaw dropping. They're missing that testosterone laden, oversized guy in the middle. But I think that we're going to have an opportunity to have a guy with some pop in there. We like Tate Ratledge coming out of college. Obviously, Mahogany going to be a mainstay now on the offensive line. Look out for him to become a perennial ass kicker in the trenches for the Lions.
Yeah, I don't think this running game all of a sudden goes to bad, right? Your running back room is too good with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, but I think they relied on it being dominant a year ago, which it was, especially down the stretch. And when it's inside zone, when it's duo, last year you had at least one elite player on every double team. There are two elite players along the offensive line, one on each of the double teams on that right side. So whether it's right guard, right tackle, whether it's right guard, center, tackle, tight end, one of those guys on that double is going to be an elite player. And that helps. That helps in terms of generating movement along the offensive line, and they generated movement better than anyone else in the NFL last year. So unfortunately, I just don't see that being the case. But this roster is still sick. Brad Holmes has done an incredible job. So why will they? There's too many talented players. I don't care who's coordinator. This is still going to be a darn good football team. And it's a team that's led by Dan Campbell at the top that has leaders on the football field too. It's got coaches on the field too that aren't just going to let this regression really crater this offense or this defense.